trying that on Zoom and seeing how it goes. So I'll very quickly let you know the order of today. First of all, Susie is going to show us how she would paint a dog, and that's going to take about 10 minutes. So you might want to just sit back and watch Susie work, just to get a feel for what's coming up, but you can also take part if you want to. After that, we're going to pop up on the screen a picture of the dog that Susie has been painting, and this is a chance for you to try it yourself. And if you have any questions about technique or about Susie's piece, you can send them through on the Q&A feature, and Louis and Phoebe will ask Susie. So please feel free, any questions, just send them to us, and we'll keep the conversation going throughout. If we have time, we'll then go on to another dog, which is a lovely little Dachshund. And then after that, we have a video of a lovely little dog called Muffin that we're going to leave on until 3 p.m. So you can, sort of draw and take as much time as you need. After this session, we're also going to put all of the videos and these slides up on on our website. So if you haven't had a chance to finish your drawings today, you can go back and do them in your own leisure. So I'm going to pass over to Susie now, who's going to just talk a little bit about how she's going to start painting this lovely teddy bear dog, and then we'll see her work. So thank you so much, Susie.
Okay, thank you so much everybody for joining us, and welcome to my kitchen in East London, where I've been working since the beginning of April. And so I'm going to get started with a picture of this Welsh Terrier, the teddy bear dog. And I'm going to keep things fairly simple. As you can probably see from my work, it is fairly minimal perhaps and simplified, because I like getting things down to the essentials. And so I've got 4 brushes, and I've got 4 colours: white, yellow ochre, a reddy brown, and Payne's grey. And out of these 4 colours, we can make this picture. And I've got this, for the first picture, I'm going to just do it in landscape format on A3 paper, fairly thick watercolour paper. And so let's get started. I'm going to, first of all, put down a ground in a fairly loose liquid colour. And because the dog is on quite a pinky background of, I think it's in Scotland, sort of pinky, heathery kind of colour. And so this kind of gives it a whole feeling of unity, because underneath all the colours there will be this one colour, and then all the colours will sort of be related, because I'm not using too many. And then once I've done that, I've got kitchen roll, which is really useful stuff, as I'm sure you know, to make a nice sort of flat or flat-ish ground to start painting on. And it also dries it a bit, so that what I paint on top doesn't get too liquid or bleed out. And before I started, one I did earlier, I broke the picture down, the teddy bear dog, down into various tones. I don't know if you can see them if I lay it flat like that. I've got 4 basic tones. Can you see that?
Yeah, if you hold it up slightly, a bit higher, you can see all those 4 points.
Okay. Right, so I've got the very lightest tone around the dog and the light coming down onto the dog, because a lot of my work's to do with light, and the pictures we're going to do today are also to do with light and dark. So the lightest tone is in the sky and around the dog. Then there are 2 sort of mid-tones, the ground that we're working on and the hillside coming down, and then the dark tone of the dog itself. So 4 colours, 4 basic tones, 4 brushes. And now I'm going to stand up. I find it easier to work so that I can see what I'm doing from a height. So I'm going to just put in the hillside in the mid-tone colour. And then I sort of bleed it into merge it with the ground down there. And it's really up to you how much detail you put in. I mean, when you're painting, you have to sort of select, and you can't put everything in. You have to be selective and choose what you want to focus on. And my work isn't terribly detailed, but it's up to you, you know, if you put in lots of trees or the stones in the foreground, these little things here, or not. But I'm keeping it simple, partly because we don't have a lot of time, and partly because that's the way I work anyway. So we've got here the mid-tone of the ground and the hillside. And then I'm going to start the main thing, which is the Welsh Terrier, otherwise known as the teddy bear dog.
Susie, just before you start the teddy bear dog, we're just going to show another picture of it. Oh,
sure, okay, fine.
So the units and people, yeah.
Right.
There we go.
Lovely. So out of the colours with which I've made the ground and the hillside, I'm making the terrier. So here goes. The tail, the legs. This is just the undercoat of the terrier, because as you can see, he's got quite a dark coat on top, but because he's standing against the light. And the point of this picture really is light, the way light falls on the animal. He's standing slightly slanted, so that his front feet are slightly in front of his back legs. And here's his orange head, and I might try and suggest a bit of his woolly coat, his texture, with the way I put the paint on. So there's kind of a woolly feeling about all this coat, his back and so on. Now, he is, as I said, against the light, and it's lovely to do shadows, I find. A lot of my work's to do with light and shadows, and it's kind of interesting when you see an object in sunlight that it's making this strange, not double exactly, but this other form that, you know, you see a figure and he's or she is casting a shadow. So you've got this other shape made by a figure or an object. So the sun is up here, about here, and so the angle is coming down like that, and so I'm making all these shadows have the same kind of direction. And then I said 4 tones. We've got ground, the hillside, which is kind of similar tone to the background of the dog. And now out of the dark Payne's grey and the reddy brown, I'm going to make his coat in shadow against the light. So I don't want it to be too dark, because then it might look a bit, and he might jump out too much, and you lose the unity of the picture. Because for me, pictures have a kind of unity through a colour scheme or harmony of tones or something, but there's also contrast in pictures. So I like to have unity and then perhaps contrast between, say, shapes and lines or light and dark. So it's a kind of combination of unity and contrast. So all the bits turned away from the light, I'm painting now with this dark mixture of red, brown Payne's grey. A little bit of tone. What, do you want me to hold it up, Phoebe?
Yeah, could you hold it up to the computer? I'm just going to...
Like that? No. Like, like that, Phoebe?
Yes, that's great. That's great. No, we can really see the tone.
Also, we have a question just saying, Maggie, what we're going to do is, this is just Susie kind of giving a tutorial, and then after Susie has finished doing this drawing, we're going to pop the video, we're going to pop up the image of the dog on the screen, and everyone's going to have about sort of 10 minutes to do their own one. So this is just...
Sorry, I haven't finished it yet, Phoebe. What? You knew that, didn't you? I haven't finished it. Phoebe, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, Natalie was just reading out a comment that was left by someone watching. We were just saying that we're going to put the picture of the teddy bear dog back on once you've completed it. Okay.
Right. Now I've done the dark tone, and now I'm just going to finish off with the light, the yellowy light tone where the sun strikes his coat. And I quite like drama in paintings, and drama doesn't have to be, you know, two people confronting each other or a person and an animal confronting each other. It can be light striking something and illuminating it. So I quite like doing dramatic pictures where bright light strikes an object or a figure.
So do you work a lot with lights in your work? Is that kind of a prominent feature?
I do, yes. Like the picture that was done for hospital rooms in Exeter. I do work quite a lot with light. I mean, generally speaking, light and shadow, yeah. So I'm now going to, bit of artistic license, perhaps let the light bleed over here, coming down onto the teddy bear dog, to show it coming down onto his coat, which then I'm getting the end of the brush to make the eyes and the nose. The eyes are kind of turned down a bit, and the nose here, and the mouth, and a bit of dark on the feet. If you half shut your eyes, you can get an impression of tone. You know how if you half shut your eyes, things become blocks of tone or colour, so you can simplify and see things in a simple way.
Someone's just left a comment saying that their dog is barking, but don't worry, you are on mute, so we can't hear you. You know, if they want to join in, let them. It's fine.
Yeah, we could paint them.
If anyone has any questions at any point, do just add them into the Q&A. We've had another one.
The dog that was barking, I think, was called Eddie Poodle. Susie,
oh, I know him.
Recognize that dog name?
Yes, I know Eddie. I did a picture of him at the art car boot fair. Yeah, he's lovely. Yeah, I did live dog drawing at the fair last year in King's Cross.
How many dogs do you think you drew that day?
Ooh, 30, perhaps 40, I don't know. I was worn out for a week after that. Right, I'm just taking this away to have a look at it, to see how we're doing. Perhaps a bit more dark on the coat, and then I'll leave it in a minute and everybody else can get started.
And Susie, you've used 4 different colours, but
Yeah.
people can choose their own 4 colours, can't they?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've chosen 4 colours, but I mean, you might. I think the thing to do with this picture is the thing that I wanted to convey was light, which means light and dark, i.e. tone. But you could use, you know, preserving the tone. You could use yellows and purples or whatever. I've stayed quite naturalistic, but I've exaggerated them a bit to intensify them, but it's fairly naturalistic what I've been doing. But you could use non-naturalistic colours if you fancied, of course. And when I do the dog with everybody, the next dog, I'll reverse the colours a bit so that perhaps I'm doing it on a blue background instead of a pink background. Okay, I don't want to hold you up. I don't want to hog the time. We'll see how this is. I wish I could get back from it, but I can't. But there you go. Can you see it?
Great, yeah, we can. Yeah, that looks amazing.
We just change the image.
The right angle, is it?
Yeah, no. Can you?
Okay. What?
Hopefully everyone can see it. If you hold it up again, hopefully everyone can see it next to the photo of the teddy bear dog, so you can sort of see them side by side. If you can,
That's the right angle.
Yeah, that's great, Susie. That's really good. I think if you can see a little version of it, you can drag the slider a bit to the middle, and then you can see them together. But yeah, I think it's up to you guys now, everyone who's watching this, to have a go at sort of painting your own version of the teddy bear dog using Susie's instructions and thinking about light and tonal shades and things like that. And again, if you have any questions at all for Susie or for us or for anyone, just drop them in the Q&A box of the screen. And we'll leave it to you now. And then Susie will be coming back to draw the Dachshund in, I'd say 5 to 7 minutes, something like that.
Sure. I'm doing the teddy bear dog with everybody. You don't have to watch me, but I'll be there with you.
Yeah.
Doing a slightly different version of him.
Yeah, we can put you on the small screen so people can see you still doing it.
Okay. All right. Okay, see you later. See you in a minute.
Thank you, Susie.
Thank you. Speak soon.
So we've had a question here, Susie, asking whether you're using watercolour or acrylic paint.
I'm using acrylic today. I do use watercolour quite a lot when I'm drawing on the street or drawing from life, which I do in shops or landscapes or on the beach. But here I'm using acrylic, but it's quite a watered down acrylic. It's a make called Golden, and they're quite fluid, which suits me because my work's sort of fairly fluid and loose. I used to use oil more, but I don't find oil really, really difficult.
I guess you could do this exercise with watercolours at home as well, couldn't you?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, watercolours are great. And the thing is, people say watercolours are so difficult, but actually they're not. So if you make a mistake or you do something you don't like, if you just add water with a brush, you can take it out. The brush and the water act like a rubber. so you're not stuck with anything. I mean, acrylic dries and it's less easy to remove, but watercolor you can get rid of it, which is very useful.
We've just had another question in, Susie, saying, wondering if you have any tips for drawing border collies specifically.
Border collies, are they
11 years old?
Are they black and white, long haired? Yes, they're sheepdog, like sheep.
Yes.
They're like sheepdogs, aren't they?
Yeah. So that's Astrid, who's 11 years old, asking that question. So if you have any tips on that particular.
Right. Well, I think with any dog, you want to think about the shape, the dog as a whole, the whole shape. So depending on where the collie is, maybe it's on a green field or something, you think about the shape that the collie is making with its pointed snout on the background. And then I think with a black and white dog, you can have a lovely time with either a mid-tone background or a dark background or something, so the black and white show up and make patterns against the background. And then I would say that it's quite nice to have lines as well as shapes in a picture. I'm going to try and put some lines on this one. And with the fur of a collie, this long, beautiful fur, you could use lines to indicate the way the fur flows or the shapes that the fur makes. Without seeing a picture of the collie, I can't really say more, but I hope that's helpful.
No, that's really good. I can imagine it on a field with sheep.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, I can. A nice green and black and white picture, I think, would be nice.
So we actually have another question as well, asking just about using watercolor, and the person that's asking is finding it difficult to add white or sort of light colors on top of the dark colors. So maybe in terms of highlighting, do you have any tips on that?
Yeah, that is a problem. That's quite well known. Good question. The best thing to do is to leave if you're working on white paper, which you probably are, to leave the white paper blank and paint the rest of the picture and the rest of the colors so that the white paper shines through, so you don't have to use white. And you know, if you do have to use white, it can be a bit tricky. The best thing to do is, as I said before, take the paint that you don't want on the page, take that off with water, blot it, and then you'll get a nice bit of white showing through. And if you want to use or have to use white from the tube or the box, I mean, that's okay, but the brightest white is the white of the paper. So I would say try that method.
So it's about erasing as well, and I guess you can do that with the kitchen towel.
Yes, I mean, if you've got watercolor on the page that you just don't want, get a brush, take the paint away with the brush. Won't work here because this is acrylic, and then blot it hard or rub it, and the white paper will come back again. And then you can always add white from the tube. But as I said, the best white, I think, is the white from the paper.
Well, that's a great tip, thank you. And also, just to say that Astrid, who you gave advice to about the border collie, yes, is very thankful for that. So
good.
Thanks.
Well, I'm looking forward. Maybe she could send a picture that she does of it, because I'm sure it would be beautiful. I can see it actually in my mind's eye, the red of the tongue, the pink of the tongue, the green of the field, and the black and white of the coat. It'd be lovely.
Yeah. Well,
so Astrid, I'm looking forward, maybe.
Yeah, if Astrid, if you do want to send us in that photograph, we've got a Dropbox and we're going to create a gallery on the website. So if we'll send a link to it after this, but we are asking everyone who's participated to send their images through Dropbox so we can share them with everyone else online. So that'd be really great.
You like to stand up when you're painting, Susie? Is that because you've got sort of more room for gesture?
I do. Yeah, I mean, even if I'm painting a big thing on a nail against the wall, I find standing up gives me more energy. If I sit down, I become a bit sluggish. It's like sitting to a meal or something. But and also, if it's something small like this is 30 by 40 centimeters. I can see what I'm doing more if I'm standing above it. What I want is to get this to dry a bit so that I can use some lines. Because the picture I did before was all shapes, really. I didn't do much with lines. It's nice to have contrast between lines and shapes, or lines and tones.
I think the sun is making a, I can see the changing light of the sun through your window as well.
That's right, yeah, I'm in the basement, but it's getting a bit of light down here.
So what is that you're using, Susie? Did you say?
Pastels. I've got various tools here for making lines. I've got charcoal, which is nice, pencil. I use all these, sometimes mixed media, pencil, charcoal, and pastels. I've been using a lot of pastels with acrylic lately for paintings, and it's just a nice sort of dynamic contrast between a dry material and a wet material, or a sharp line and a shape that's that doesn't have sharp edges to it.
And that's is that quite usual for you in your practice to use those mixed media methods?
Yeah, it well, more so, I think. I used to be a bit I don't know, a bit apprehensive about mixing everything up. I don't know why. I thought, oh, I need to stick to one medium. Then I thought, no. I looked at artists who used all kinds of things, oil, acrylic, charcoal, all kinds of things in their work. I thought, well, I'll have a go at that too. And the recent pictures I've done of the doctors and nurses have all had acrylic, and like the one you've got, that one called Mask, they've had acrylic and pastel on them, and pencil.
Yes, that's looking very nice in my dad's office actually right now.
Oh, good.
We're just going to spend a few more minutes on the teddy bear dog, if that's okay, Susie.
Absolutely. Sorry, my chair.
That's
yeah, of course.
Yeah. And then we'll move on to the little Dachshund that was the next dog, and we'll have a maybe smaller time drawing that one. And then all these slides will be sent to everyone who's participated today. So you'll get all the slides of the different dogs.
Fantastic. I really look forward to that. Great.
So if you could just hold, I know it's not completely finished, but if you could hold it up to the computer screen, Susie, and then we can move on to the next one. Oh.
Not finished, but I was reversing the colour of the background, so he's standing on blue, not pink or
Yeah,
red.
I love the highlighting of the yellow at the top and on his ears. It's very...
Yeah, I wanted this drama of where the light strikes the back of the head and so on. This moment of illumination and dramatic contrast between light and dark.
Beautiful. Okay, so
it isn't finished, but anyway, it's trying to do something different, because although I've chosen these colours, as I said, people can choose whatever they like. Although I think making a few colours work hard and making colours have relationships with each other, so that there's a bit of ochre in the ground, and then there's a bit of ochre in the dog, and so that the colours all tie in together and make this unity. And then you can go in with contrast as well to maybe disrupt it, to make disunity. But I do like, personally, using just a few colours, and then the mixed media, which I've tried to embark on here. So I'm going to turn my palette over.
And we're going to change over to the dog now. Yeah, is that right?
I'll wait for you. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we got about 10 minutes of the 45 minutes to go, so we'll do 10 minutes during the Dachshund.
Okay. All right.
Which I'll just get up. So there he is.
Right. Okay. The Dachshund. Again, it's light and dark. And this time it's, because I thought you might get bored having two outdoor scenes. This one's indoors. And you can see it's square, not rectangular. So my paper here is 30 by 40, but I'm just going to turn it round to make a square and draw a line down the side so that we've got the square to work on. Okay. And I don't do a picture on my own. I just paint with everybody else, don't I? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're going to do this one all together.
Sure, great. Okay. I'm turning. I don't know if you want to know what I'm doing or not.
Yes, of course we do.
Always.
I'm turning my palette over, so nice clean start. I'm changing the water, trying not to spill it over the computer. So clean water, clean brushes, kitchen roll to hand. And again, I'm going to put down a ground like I did with the teddy bear dog. Here are my four colours again, laid out for convenience in order of lightness and darkness. I've got my white, my ochre, my reddy brown, and my Payne's grey. And to make a kind of light colour to indicate the sunlight coming through, I'm putting down a ground on the back, on the paper. And of course, as before, you can use whatever colours you want. You might want to use reds or greens or whatever, like the Fauvists did. But what's quite good is to try to stick to the tonal relationships, the lights and the darks. So if you're doing it in red, you'd have a lighter red and a darker red, and then maybe a purple for the dog or whatever. So, what?
Susie, what is the material of the palette that you're using? Someone's just asking what is the palette? Is it card?
It's a bit of old styrofoam.
Oh wow!
I tend to use whatever I've got. I remember once painting in Spain, and I used the road as a palette. And if I haven't got, I've used coffee as a brown paint. If I haven't got brown, during lockdown, I haven't been able to get to art shops, and we've had vegetables delivered. And so I've used the cardboard from the delivery boxes to paint on. And this, I think, was part of the delivery, this bit of old foam. But I wanted something white so you could, you know, you could show the colours nicely.
It's quite nice because you kind of realise that you don't need to buy all the kit. You can actually use what's available to you.
I agree. I mean, all these unnecessary, expensive things that people try and sell you, it's just not. You don't need it. You need paper, but cardboard's a great thing to paint on. What's the word? A great mount for painting. And then a few simple colours, water, a rag. It doesn't need a whole lot of equipment, I don't think. I mean, you can do if you fancy it, but I just find it less trouble to keep things simple.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing here is I've got the light bouncing through with this yellow ochre, very pale yellow ochre. Then I've got this bluey grey, Payne's grey, and I keep going on about Payne's grey, but you can mix Payne's grey with black and an ultramarine blue if you don't have Payne's grey, and you do have those other colours. But it's a nice sort of bluey grey, useful colour to have around. So now I'm putting in the cushion behind his head. Why I chose this one is because, rather unlike the landscape picture, it has some quite interesting shapes. I mean, you get that with indoor scenes. You get chairs and tables and bottles and telephones or whatever. And you get, you know, a painting is, it refers to the outside world, but it also has its own internal composition, of course, its own internal energy, which is created by these shapes in contrast and in relationship to each other. And I thought that these shapes around the dog, the shapes of the light, the shape of the cushion and so on, were quite useful to make an exciting composition. I need to stand up for this. I hope everybody's getting on all right. But
yeah, if you want to let us know how you're getting on and what kind of colours you're using, again, just drop us a line in the chat Q&A thing.
now I'm just going for it, trying to get the shape. Like with the collie, what I said about the collie, try and find the sort of basic shape of the dog, his head, his paws and so on, and try and get that on in one, well not in one, but as a bold statement, and then you can go in later with the detail. I find if I hesitate too much, then I get sort of fussy and things tend to fall apart. I like to sort of do big, simple shapes and see how that goes. So good old yellow ochre's come back for the paws. And the beard's yellow ochre too, really. I did a lot of Dachshunds for hospital rooms recently, Dachshund called Frankie. So I'm quite keen on this particular subject. Right.
It's just coming up to 2:45 now, so which is obviously the end of our advertised time, but we are going to keep going. So for those of you who are happy to stay with us, please keep with us. Susie's going to be finishing off this lovely dog, and then we're going to put up another video for everyone to draw. So if you can stay with us, please do. If you have to leave us, there's a survey that's going to come up when you leave the chat, and we would be so grateful if you're a unit, if you could just take a couple of moments to fill that out for us. It's really, really helpful. And we are also going to be uploading 10-minute videos to our YouTube channel. It's just Hospital Rooms on YouTube, and you can follow us and subscribe. And there's also going to be a live Zoom recording. So that's all going to come through Eventbrite. So lots more to come if you do have to leave us, but if not, please stay with us.
I'll show you what I've done. It's not finished. Natalie, is that all right?
That's lovely. If you can hold it up, that's
there.
Aww. Lovely.
And a bit like with the watercolour, I've left a bit blank to indicate the light.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that or not?
We can see it. Susie, we've
Okay.
got a question about brush recommendations. Any basic brush recommendations that you have?
Well, this is kind of a bit personal, but I treat my brushes very badly, so I tend to get cheap ones because they can be so expensive. And I get nylon brushes for acrylic, which I get from a shop called Great Art in London, and they have really good deals. And so these brushes, I'm not quite sure what the make is, De La Rowney, I think, if I'm allowed to quote the product. And they're for acrylic specifically, and they are, I think, some synthetic material, nylon or something. But that's because if I get expensive brushes and I ruin them, it's a bit of a waste of money. Yeah. Acrylic brushes for acrylic, and the cheap, not too cheap, so they fall apart, but nothing too fancy. But that's me all over. I don't buy very elaborate things.
Okay. So if you're finished with that one, Susie, for now, then we'll just switch over to the final. We've got a little video of a dog called Muffin. And I think, Susie, you're going to also sort of paint along with this one, but this is just for everyone also to follow at home. And as I said, there's a Dropbox link that we'll be sending through via Eventbrite. So if you've done your paintings today and you'd like to share them with us, please upload them to there. We'd love to see them. We'd love to share them on our online gallery. And we're going to keep this video running now until 3 o'clock, when this is going to, when this session will end. But like I say, we are going to be uploading them, so there's time. Yeah, we'll officially sign off at 3 o'clock. But Susie, I just want to thank you so much for.
Well, I enjoyed it. Thank you, and thanks to everyone who I can't see. But I'm sorry, I can't see you all. But thank you for joining in, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you've been making. And I just hope it was useful. And I'm now going to make a picture of this muffin.
Thank you, Susie.
All right.
Thanks,
Okay. Bye for now.
Bye.
We've got a lot of thank yous coming in on the chat, so.
Oh, good.
Your
Good.
advice is very, very welcome.
Well, I enjoy it. It's nice. Difficult though. This is difficult. This is Tim's mother's dog.
Yes, it is.
I think that's a yes from Tim.
I think I'm going to use some lines here. Whoops. pencil to indicate the floor and the tiles or whatever it is. It's quite difficult, this one, because the black of the dog merges with the black of the cushion, or the blue. I forgot to say, I don't know if anyone can still hear me, but you can make a mark with anything. I'm using my finger here. I don't know if it'll work out, but it can be quite useful. Use the end of the brush as well as the normal end, and you know, you can use a rag or all kinds of things to make marks with.
We'll go back to finger painting.
Yeah, well, it can be a mixture, can't it?
Yeah.
Finger, brush, stick, pencil, rag. Rembrandt used rags a lot, didn't he?
We've just had someone add that fingers make it tactile.
Yeah, it
Sense
is.
artist.
Getting close to the surface, getting involved in the materials. It can be nice. Well, it can make good work.
So we just had a question in, Susie.
Yeah, yeah.
What's the biggest you've painted? Do you sort of keep this like loose method when you're working on larger paintings?
I tried to. The biggest picture I ever did was the one for hospital rooms, actually, which is, I can't remember, it's about 180 centimeters square, something like that, I think, or maybe more. And yeah, if I get big brushes and mix up the paint in advance, and then just go for it with fairly loose mixtures of paint, and sometimes work on the floor so they don't run off the canvas if I'm working on a canvas. So put the canvas on the floor, work quite loosely with watery mixtures of acrylic. I've done that quite a bit, but of course you have to wait for them to dry so that it doesn't all slide off the surface if you put it on the wall. But I like to keep a certain, I mean, it depends, sometimes I can't do it, but I like to keep a kind of fluidity and fluency of the line and the marks, if possible. But it can be more difficult on a big scale, I think. Partly because you're scared of, ruining the canvas. If it's paper, you can chuck it away, but if it's a big canvas, it's a bit of a shame.
We'll be kind of concluding the session in just a few minutes, and Susie will be sort of holding up the work that she's been doing. But if anyone has a few questions that they'd like to ask about technique or materials or certain dogs, then now's a great time to put them in the Q&A before we wrap up.
What's your favourite kind of dog, Susie?
Welsh Terrier. The teddy bear dog. That's the one I'd like. We both like a teddy bear dog, but I think it would be a 24-hour job to look after it. I'd have to give up painting.
We've got another question in, which is, what do you most love about art making? Or making?
Ooh, good question. That well, it makes me feel alive and energized, and I like getting my sensations and feelings down onto paper or canvas. I go out into, go outside and think, that's amazing, that looks wonderful, and they can be negative feelings or positive feelings. But if you do art, you can go to art and communicate, whether it's negative stuff, sad stuff, happy stuff. You can communicate all that through paint or drawing, and it can be really exciting. It can turn quite negative things into positive things. You can be feeling awful, but if you make a painting or a drawing, it can transform that feeling into, because you're making something, and you're making something alive. And I like observing the world and doing something with it to make a painting as well. I don't know if that makes sense, but
someone is also just following on from that point. Was saying, can art painting ever make you feel the opposite of alive and energized if you don't feel like what you've created is quite right? So I guess
yes, I suppose so. It's a whole spectrum of things. You can feel really despondent, and if things go badly, if you're working on a picture and it just won't work out well, and you've wasted days or weeks on it, and you just get very frustrated, and if you're feeling really tired and everything, it can make you feel the opposite of those things, sure. But if you stick with it, you have to have a certain sort of patience and tenacity, I suppose. And if you stick with it, then good days will come, I suppose. And sometimes you've laboured away at a painting for weeks, and then suddenly you find you do it in a flash. It suddenly works out okay. So it's a mixture, really.
positive things come out of failures as well, like perceived failures of in painting.
Yeah, I think you work through things, or you discover how to do something, and you think, oh, the painting's awful, it's going so badly, and I've wasted all this time and all these materials. And then you've learned something, even without realizing it. And the next time you come to do a picture, or even when you come to alter that picture, you suddenly can do it. It just happens. Maybe you're not trying too hard, or maybe you're just feeling better about yourself or something, but things can change for the better.
The person that asked that question has said thank you so much, and that they're feeling a little like that right now, so it's really great to have your perspective on it, and they say that they agree that perseverance is key.
Thank you. Oh, well, I'm glad that's helpful. I mean, it really is how I feel. It's just not very easy making art, but you know, it has some great advantages. It has some wonderful things, wonderful days as well as bad days. So anyway, I'm glad that was helpful.
So we've got just one or two last questions that we're going to quickly answer, and then Susie, if you wouldn't mind holding up your lovely, you can see it.
Yes. I don't really. I could go on. It's just a great big black blob.
Love it.
I could go on. I wanted it to dry to make some whiskery lines around the beard and the moustache, but I haven't had time.
Just,
we out of time? Yeah, we're out of time, aren't we?
Yeah, just the last question, Susie, about how often you paint. Do you find time to paint every day? Do you paint?
I do. Yeah, I try to paint every day. I mean, it's all I do, really. I don't really have hobbies apart from cooking. And my husband is a writer, and so we both work every day. Not all day, but every day. I try to do office hours because that keeps me disciplined. Not during lockdown, but I go to the studio at 8 or 9 and work till the evening.
There was one other question, I think this might have to be our final one, but I thought it was quite interesting, especially with what you've been making over COVID, Susie. But someone's asked, has COVID impacted your art making anyway, or your ways about being creative? And I just sort of was thinking about the NHS things that you've done.
Yes, it's been very much so. It's been an inspiration in a way. It sounds an awful thing to say, but a doctor friend of mine sent me some pictures of COVID wards. And that inspired, he said they would inspire my work, and they did. And so I've done a series of hundreds of pictures of doctors and nurses. And my gallery, Paul Stolper, did a viewing room of them all on his website. So yeah, it's been a very, like everybody, I've been very upset and to see what's been going on. And it's a terrible, tragic period of our lives, but for many people, but for my art, it has inspired me to make new images.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Susie, for today and giving up your sort of time to take us through this. Like I said, everything is going to be coming through on email, so if you signed up via Eventbrite, and also if you're taking part on behalf of the unit, there's a short survey which we'd be so grateful if you could fill out. If you enjoyed this session, we have another session next Thursday with Harold Offe, and that is wax rubbings, so completely different, and you can sign up for that on Eventbrite. So thank you so much to everyone that took part today, and especially thank you to you, Susie.
Well, I'd like to say thanks to everybody again. Thank you so much for joining in.
Great.
And to you all at Hospital Rooms. Thank you.
Lovely. Well, thanks everyone, and we hope to see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Susie.
Bye, Susie.
Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.